Magic Johnson, the legend, will join us tomorrow to discuss all things hoops, including his surging Lakers. Don't miss the Magic Show Thursday right here on First Take.
There are a lot of things that really were, intriguing to me about the organization and, the players and the coaches and, the willingness of everyone to try to, accomplish what the goal of playing football is, which is to win. They hired me to do a job here, and I'm going to go in there and do it like you've always seen me do for a long time, like, the fans have always seen me do, like opposing coaches, my teammates have seen me do, and I'm going to give it everything I got like I've done everything in my life for as long as I've been playing this sport.
All right, that was Tom Brady yesterday on his introductory conference call with the Bucs, excited about his new start after leaving the Patriots with a 20-year career there in New England. Dan, back here with us. Stephen A., what does Brady need to prove now in Tampa?
Not a damn thing. As far as I'm concerned, his legacy is cemented. We all know this. But if there was something that he wanted to peel from all of this, it's really to show that he's not done. That's it. Nothing more. To show that last year was simply flukish from the standpoint that he was bereft of weapons. And because he didn't have the weapons necessary in order to be productive, that's why he was in a position to take the hits that he's taken in terms of slippage that people are alluding to and things of that nature. I loved yesterday watching ESPN with folks talking about how numerous the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had examined them, watched tape and whatever, and saw no mechanical deficiencies, just the kind of things that you look for from a quarterback, drop stepping and coming back and flinging the football, the velocity on the throws, et cetera, et cetera. They were talking about there was no flagrant slippage on the part of Tom Brady. When they talked about him holding the ball a little bit too long, you were talking about the relationship that he had with those young receivers, whether or not guys were running right routes, the level of faith that he had in them to run those right routes, keeping the turnovers at a minimum, et cetera, et cetera. There are a plethora of things that could have gone in to why you saw Tom Brady looking the way that he looked last year. You don't anticipate that's going to be the case this year, and I think that Tom Brady knows that, which is why he elected to go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's not going to Tampa Bay if there was no Mike Evans there, no Mike Evans caliber of player, no Chris Godwin caliber of player, no O.J. Howard or Cameron Brake kind of player with Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich calling the shots on the offense, etc. Tom Brady's not going to someplace like that if he didn't have weapons. He might as well have stayed in New England if that were the case. So I think that really, to me, it's slim to nothing that he has to prove. But if you want to peel something out of it that he wants to prove, is that last year was an aberration. He still has more left than people realize.
Tom Brady has to prove that he can be great without Bill Belichick. That's what he has to prove. Because people like Stephen A., and there are a lot of them out there who say Tom Brady hasn't really slipped, some say at all, physically or not appreciably. It's really what he had around him, or rather didn't have around him last year, even though I would counter with, well, Bill Belichick saw slippage. That's why he designed the team around the running game and especially the defense the last couple of years. It was good enough to win a Super Bowl 2 years ago and to win 12 games this past season. And the reason he did that is he could see that's the way, given the kind of quarterback Tom Brady now is, that they could win. Good game manager, could still be big on third down when you needed him. So those kind of guys operate well, running game defense. That's what Belichick gave him. That's why they won a Super Bowl and then followed up with 12 wins. But for people like Stephen A., who are saying, no, mechanically and physically, it's all there, the arm strength, the accuracy, it's really just the receivers. He didn't have anyone to throw to, get separation, run the right routes, have rapport with, all that stuff. Well, okay, he's going to a team that's loaded on that side of the ball, even has an underrated defense and a great coach. He's going to that place. So, Stephen A., if there's no slippage, then as you would say, no excuses. He should be great. So if he's not great with the Bucs, then I think it would be fair to say, for people like you, I'll say Brady got old. I thought he was old before this. But you're going to have to say, okay, it was Bill Belichick. Brady couldn't be great without him. That's what your position and people who take that position are saying about this season, whether they realize it or not.
Excuse me 1 second, Dan, before you get in here. And Max, I just want to share this with you. Bill Belichick coached exactly 100 games before Tom Brady. Do you know what his record was? 42 in 58.
Doesn't matter, Molly. Molly, it doesn't matter because that was with the Cleveland
Okay.
Browns, who, by the way, he coached to the playoffs. Once he got to the Patriots, without Tom Brady, he was 13
Let's
and
let Dan
6.
get
I
in
wanna
here.
say.
I think it's just fair to mention that.
Go ahead, Dan. I'll deal with him in a second. Go ahead, Dan.
What about 13 and 6? Want to mention that?
Molly,
Is
to
that
your
fair?
point, he was 5-13. All right, so Max, I'm going to rip that apart. He was 5-13 with Drew Bledsoe in New England before he made the switch to Tom Brady. The 13-6, 10 of those wins are with Matt Castle the year after they went 16-0. So that's a pretty steep drop off from being 16-0. 2 of those wins are with Jimmy Garoppolo, who just took a team to the Super Bowl, and one of those wins was with Jacoby Brissett, who went 5-2 as a starter last year. So he didn't go 13-6 with one of my kids playing quarterback. I think Tom Brady's got a lot to prove. I really do, and I think that we can get that from him saying that he has a lot to prove. Tom Brady, when he signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, on his social media said, "No one cares what you've done in the past. They only care what you're doing right now." And that's evidence enough to tell me that Tom Brady still thinks he has enough to prove. And maybe it's because he's hostage to his own success. The standard level and the expectation level is so ridiculously high that that's where we're going to measure Tom Brady at. And he's got to go prove, to Max's point, that he can go do that without who many and all of us deem as the greatest coach, certainly in a salary cap driven league, in Bill Belichick ever. The second thing is this. Tom Brady could have retired. I believe that he was kind of shoved out the door from New England, but he very easily could have retired. And none of us would have said anything. We would have said, greatest career ever, great. But he decided to continue to play because he thinks that he is still good enough. And so he now needs to go prove that the decision to continue to play was the right choice. Also, yes, I think that there were other opportunities to go play team-wise, maybe not 10, but he chose the team that has the worst winning percentage in the history of the NFL. I don't think that's by mistake. The guy who deems himself the greatest winner, or in his mind at least I assume, thinks he's the greatest winner of all time, wants to take on the challenge of, I was the guy who took the organization with the worst winning percentage ever, and I took them to the Super Bowl, and I won the Super Bowl. And so I think we just need to listen to Tom Brady. He himself has told us, I still have a lot left to prove.
What does their lifetime winning percentage mean anything in Tampa? They won 7 games last year. He's not taking over a team from 10 or 20 years ago. He's taking over
Max,
this team.
they haven't been to the playoffs in 12 years. They haven't been to the playoffs.
What's that got to do with anything?
Max.
He just said, what are you doing right now? He's taking over a 7-win team with a quarterback who scored more points for the opposition than anyone in the NFL. I can't remember anyone throwing 112 points the other way.
Because, Max, here's the reality. Here's the reality, is if he went to the San Francisco 49ers and won the Super Bowl, you would go on First Take next year and be like, but yeah, did he really do it? Because this was a 13-win team who had the #1 defense and they went to the Super Bowl. You would find reasons. And I'm telling you, this team hasn't been to the playoffs in 12 years.
But stay right there. No, wait. Stay right there. The previous 11 years got nothing to do with this. Last year, they won 7 games with a quarterback that handed 112 points to the opposition. So if you get a competent quarterback at Tampa, you'd expect them to win at least 8, 9 games. Let's see Brady be great with this team. He's set up to do it. He left Belichick without a backup quarterback. He went to a team with every weapon he needs. That he's set it up to make himself look as good as possible and Belichick as bad as possible. Let's see what happens.
Well, I'm awfully quiet because I'm listening to Max regurgitate the same point that really doesn't make any sense in terms of coming out of his mouth. Because what Max is trying to point to, there are no excuses for Tom Brady. Excuse me. Nobody's trying to make any excuses for Tom Brady. He's going on the football field as a starting quarterback with $50 million guaranteed. Of course he has to produce next season. It doesn't erase the fact that you said he was done 3 years ago, and he's still going. Back to you, Dan. Here's my problem with what you're saying. I don't know why you're on this soapbox about Tom Brady when it comes to what he said. He said, he recognizes the point that this year he's got something to prove. What the hell is he supposed to say, Dan, and how is he supposed to feel? If you take $50 million and you still think you have something left, of course he feels that way. We're talking about what we feel. as spectators watching him. I'm saying that if you look at Tom Brady, no matter what happens next year and beyond, if we look at Tom Brady next season and we say he's done, that doesn't erase what he's done. It doesn't erase the legacy that he has already cemented. It doesn't erase his
hold on,
greatness. The only issue, hold on. We heard you. Hold on. The point is, we're going to come back to Max in this regard. We're going to come back to Max in this regard. Max is trying to sit up there and act like, oh, if Tom Brady stinks up the joint this coming season, that will validate what happened last year. When what happened last year, he didn't have any weapons.
Exactly.
It doesn't validate last year.
Exactly.
No, what it will be for you, Stephen A, is that Brady couldn't be. For me, it's that Brady got old. For you, it must be that Brady can't be great without Belichick, because according to you, he's still got it.
Exactly.
And now he's got the weapons.
That's the exact point. If he goes and fails, everyone who said it was because of Bill Belichick would be validated, Stephen A. That's why he has to go prove. And he has said so himself. And so I want to take him at his word that he needs to go prove that it's not just because of that.
Dan, were you on the air, Max Kellerman and Dan Orlovsky? Have y'all not periodically said this on the air when Max uses the word cliff? Dan, you did it. But didn't y'all say that when the time comes, it doesn't sneak up on you? All of a sudden, you get up one day when you get that age, and bam, it's gone. Is that if that is the case? How is it not possible that next year, what Max said 3 years ago is now applicable? That you might get on the field with Tampa, and all of a sudden you 43. It's just that simple.
That's right.
Last year you didn't have any weapons. This year you might be old.